Well, hi there, my name is Matt Dawson. I'm the director here at Inspire Music School, where we are passionate about everyone learning and loving the guitar. And on this video, what we're going to be talking about is 4 very common reasons as to why most people quit the guitar. Now, I guess you could call this 4 reasons to quit, and you could also look at this from the other perspective and kind of go, well, this could be our tips for success. If we follow these things and we try to get out of certain trappings that a lot of people fall into, we will actually learn the guitar and have more success with it. So these are really, really simple principles to kind of get your head around, and I'm going to unpack them a little bit, and hopefully you'll get something from it. And we'll go into a lot more detail in our 4-week intro courses. So in our 4-week intro courses, where we really delve deep and find out how these things actually apply to you as an individual in your individual circumstances. So without further ado, let's get stuck in and have a look at some of these points. So reasons why people quit the guitar, number 1 is they do not manage their expectations. So we need to make sure that we are managing our expectations when we're learning the guitar. If you're a child, what a lot of children do is they see the guitar on social media, they see it on television, they see it on YouTube, they see all of these people, some of them are even their own age, playing the guitar, loving the guitar, and they're really, really, really good. And what they don't realize is how much work it actually requires to actually get good at the guitar. Now, what I tend to say is, on average, it takes around 1 year of guitar practice, not 1 year of guitar ownership, not 1 year of it being kind of under the stairs in a cupboard somewhere, but 1 year of consistent practice for a guitar player to become what I would consider the all-right guitar player. Now, the all-right guitar player, if you think of it like this, you've got someone that comes around your house to visit, and they might spot that you've got a guitar in the corner and they go, oh, I didn't know you played the guitar. Can you play the guitar? You might go, yes, I'm all right. Which means that you can pick your guitar up, you can play a few tunes, you know a few chords, you can navigate a lot of the basics really, really easily, and you can start to see some results. What a lot of people do is they think that that's going to occur in the first few weeks or even the first few months, and it just isn't the case. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, especially with children, it takes a lot longer to learn, and a lot of people underestimate how much work it actually requires. Now, not saying that it's not a manageable thing, and many people do actually go ahead and they become really, really successful with the guitar, but a lot of people fall into this trappings of, especially today where we've got things like Netflix, even takeaways are pretty much instant at the click of a button. We live in a very kind of one-click instant world, and the guitar, unfortunately, is not part of that. The guitar does require a bit of attention, a bit of practice, a bit of discipline, but you know what? It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. It's actually a really, really fun and enjoyable learning experience. So that being said, if you're not Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton in the first couple of weeks, please don't feel disheartened. It takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of work, but you know what? If you stick with it, everybody gets there in the end. Everybody. It just takes you a little bit of time. And during the 4-week intro course, again, we go over how you can actually structure your learning so that you can actually learn faster. And this leads me on to point number 2. Point number 2 as to why people quit the guitar is they do not communicate with their teacher. Now, this goes on the assumption that you've actually got a physical face-to-face or virtual teacher or whatever it might be. A lot of people nowadays, they do learn from things like apps and YouTube, which is something that wasn't really available when I was learning the guitar, but a lot of people do choose to learn that way because it is easy, and you do have access to information, and you've got it at the click of a button, in the palm of your hand, on a tablet or on a phone or whatever it might be. However, we often find ourselves in this position where we need to ask questions, and obviously if you're learning in a virtual format, you don't always get the option to ask a question where you can receive a clear and instant response. But if you do have a face-to-face guitar teacher, what I always recommend is to ask as many questions as you possibly can. Think of learning the guitar as like building a wall, okay? And we don't want any holes in our wall. So each question that's answered is like a brick, and we don't want any question to go unanswered, because believe it or not, even the smallest question that you could ask, even the smallest, most insignificant question that you could ask, can actually have quite a big picture impact on your overall playing. So for children, a lot of children think that their question is stupid, or that it's not a relevant question, or that they've just asked the same question a few times and they still don't quite understand, so they don't want to ask again. The best thing any student can do is communicate and ask as many questions as possible. Believe it or not, even my adult students, who are really, really great, and I think they're all fantastic guitar players, they almost don't want to bother me when it comes to asking questions. It's almost like, oh, that seems like a bit of a silly question. I wouldn't want to ask Matt that question. You know what? The more questions that you ask of your teacher, the more your teacher can actually do for you. The more information you get, the better you're going to be. And there's no such thing as a ridiculous question. Of course, if your question is legitimately ridiculous, like can I play with my toes or something weird like that, then you know what, yeah, that's a bit of a strange question. But generally speaking, there are no such things as stupid questions in the world of guitar, because everything, needs to be answered. If you've got a question that comes up in your lessons, you need to get that question answered. So the reason why people quit is they have a question, it goes unanswered, it affects their playing, and it affects their enjoyment of their guitar, and they just quit, they fall off the scale. So there you go. That is a big one that a lot of people of all ages fall into the traps of. Point number 3 on our road to discovering why people quit the guitar is they don't set goals. Now, when you think of a goal, some people think of their goal as like it has to be this big goal that they're working towards over the series of months. It can be something really simple, like tuning your instrument or learning a chord or just attending lessons solidly for 6 months or something like that. If you've got a goal, you've got something to work towards, and that's something that's good. When I'm teaching the kids in our school, what I often kind of pose to them is, what is your favourite sport? And one person might say football, one person might say basketball, one person might say cricket. It doesn't matter. All sports have a goal in mind that everyone is working their way towards, okay? If it's in football, for example, you score goals by putting the ball at the back of the net. Now, one of the other things I do for the children is when I'm explaining this to them, I often kind of go into the example of, well, imagine if you go and see a football match, for example, and the players run out on the pitch, but all the goalposts have actually been taken off the pitch. How is anybody supposed to score points? And some of them kind of go, actually, I don't really know. And that's true, they don't know, because the actual goal, the thing that all the players are aiming at, has been taken away. And therefore you've got 90 minutes of just players passing the ball backwards and forwards to each other, and that doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't do anybody any favours, and it's not that enjoyable to watch. Now, it's the same thing with guitar. If you've got a goal that you're working towards, you've got something that you're aiming at, and if you've got something that you're aiming at, your learning has direction. And a lot of people quit because they just go on YouTube and they learn a chord, or they learn a bit of a song, or they learn a chord progression or whatever, and although that's enjoyable, they've got no frame of reference, they've got no track record, and they've got nothing really consistent that they're aiming towards. So in our 4-week intro course, what we encourage all of our students to do is to have a look at their lesson plans that are actually laid out for them, and to really take note as to what's actually being laid out in terms of their progression, and making sure that they can actually go from A to B to C to D and so on. They've got something they're aiming towards. And a lot of people as well, they don't like telling me, and this is more for the adult students, a lot of people don't like telling me what their goals and aspirations actually are, because unfortunately, we have this preconceived notion in our mind that, certain things on the guitar are really difficult. Now, yes, absolutely, there are some things that are quite difficult to do on the guitar. However, a good teacher will never ever say to you, hey, you know what? That is a really difficult song to play, and I suggest that you park that goal or that aspiration because you've got about 2 years before you can actually play that. You know what? That's really disheartening, and we don't want that. We don't want that to be going into our students' minds. So what we might say is, you know what? If you've got a really, famous song in your mind, it could be Sultans of Swing or Led Zeppelin or whatever big epic guitar song it is that you're listening to, whatever song that is, if you're listening to that song and you think, I'd love to be able to play it, you'll get there eventually if you put the work in and you actually learn the skills required to actually pull that song off. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 3 years, heck, it might even take 5 years. But you know what? It's not about how long it takes, because it's a journey and it's there to be enjoyed. You'll get there eventually. Just learn the steps that you need and the skills required to actually be able to get there, and you will get there. But have a goal, have something to aim towards, even if it's something as simple as, I'd love to be able to just tune my own instrument. That's a great starting point, and that's often something that a lot of people forget to do. And the last thing I want to talk about, this would be point number 4, as to why people quit the guitar, is people just don't have fun. People don't enjoy it. People take it really seriously. They get frustrated really easily with the process of learning the guitar, because, maybe going back to point number 1, their progress isn't matching up with their expectations, but they take it really seriously. Now, with children have to go to school, children get tests, children have spellings and maths and all this other stuff that they have to learn, the guitar should be something that's creative and fun for them to enjoy. And if you're an adult, you've got your career, you've got your home responsibilities. If you're a parent, you've got your kids to make sure that they're okay and all of that other stuff that goes on in the world. There is enough pressure in the world without adding guitar to that massive list of things. So, you know, if you're learning a song and you, say for example, have missed a guitar practice for that day or whatever, don't beat yourself up. Just think, okay, I haven't managed to practice the guitar for whatever reason, but tomorrow's going to be different, or the next day, or whatever it is. You know, there are things that are going to come up in your life that are going to prevent you from actually playing, which are going to hinder your availability, you know, to actually get better and better and better. The idea that, you know, everyone practices every single day, 365 days of the year, is just not a realistic thing to think about, because, you know, we get sick and it's not physically possible to play the guitar. We have the festive season whereby we are going to work parties or Christmas dues, and we're catching up with family, we're traveling to see friends, we're doing all this other stuff. And then you've got the Christmas holidays where it's just a complete write-off, where everyone's routine goes out of the window on every area of life. We go on, you know, we go abroad on holiday in the summer, and you know, you can't always take your guitar to your destination, so therefore you can't practice the guitar where you're going at the hotel. There are things that are going to happen in your life that are going to stop you from getting better at the guitar. And you know what? It's normal, it's to be expected, but the ones that quit are the ones that let it get them down. I play the guitar for a living, but before it was my job, it was my hobby. And it starts, in every great guitar player out there, it always starts as a hobby. A hobby. Doesn't matter what the guitar player's name is. At one point, if they're a famous rock star, famous pop star, whatever it is, at one point the music was a hobby for them, and out of that comes their opportunity for them to have their career. But it always boils down to that first thing: is they like to just do it for fun. And so, just to recap, manage your expectations, communicate with your teacher, set goals, and have fun. Really, really simple steps to make sure that people are actually having success with the guitar, and they're often the 4 pitfalls that people fall into, which leads them to quit. So during the 4-week intro, what we actually do is we show you how these things are actually going to impact you as an individual. These are things that are just generally kind of thrown out there, but obviously from speaking to you, we can actually sit there and say, well, you know what, if you're in these sorts of circumstances, this is why you need to communicate. Or if you're really good at this, but you struggle with this kind of thing, this is why you need to communicate. Or maybe you've got a child that's got that has learning difficulties and things like that. This is how we can help you and your child in this sort of season that they're in, with these limitations that they might be experiencing at the moment. It is worth booking in for a 4-week intro, because it really is the best way to get a full broad picture as to how and why certain things of the guitar are so important. And if you have a concrete understanding of these things, you're going to go further, you're going to learn more, and you're going to enjoy it more. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I hope you found it useful. If you have found it useful, please give the video a thumbs up, and also as well, please head on over to Facebook and Instagram and give us a like and a follow. We'd really, really appreciate it, and you'll also find a lot more free resources there from Inspire Music School. So until next time, have a good one.